Bison basketball gets a comeback win. Highlights of that. Plus, we're days away from the Dakota Bowl. Minot North makes its debut. LLM goes for revenge. Hot Mic starts now.
Really? Really, Dom?
No.
I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to the We Need More Tea edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning everybody in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City in western South Dakota, and Inforum.com. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Wednesday, the 12th of November. We got a studio audience here. Walvin brought down some students here, so they're in. This is fun. I normally am by myself. Go ahead, Eric, take the top shot, man. We normally don't have anybody. You guys wave on camera here. We don't normally have people in studio. There they are. So it's nice to actually have some people here. Normally I'm just talking to myself, so I can bore you guys in person. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the show, everybody, here on a busy Wednesday. We got our Bison Media Zone show coming up here in about hour and a half. Mike McFeely will join me this morning. Get ready for the Bison Harvest Bowl game with Northern Iowa. It's National Signing Day. We'll chat a little bit about that. The Bison men, we're going to sign 5 players today. I think you've met nearly all of them on our show. The Bison women are going to add 1 player today. Busy day for a lot of local athletes. They'll make it official, whether it's Division I, Division II, Division III. It's a big day today. We'll highlight some of that throughout our program this morning. We're 2 days out from the Dakota Bowl. Heads up for our schedule. We will be live at the Dome on Friday for our show, getting ready for what is the unofficial state holiday of football in our state. With Dakota Bowl 33. We're going to feature a couple of guests on that front today, focusing on the 9-man and the 2A championship game. That's coming up later on in our program. Excited about that, especially that 9-man game. It's a rematch of last year between Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion, and New Rockford, Cheyenne, Maddock. I don't want to get anybody from Maddock upset with me that I'm leaving them out, but that's the first game out of the chute. We talked about the Class A game yesterday with Bottineau taking on Langdon. Josh Gravachka is actually going to join us, head coach of Langdon, on set on Friday morning at 10 a.m. So we're looking forward to that and much more on the Dakota Bowl coming up later on in the show. Some breaking news out of NDSU. It's not breaking anymore. It happened yesterday with President Dave Cook announced he's going to be the next president at Iowa State. We're going to chat about that coming up in just a little bit and how it relates to athletics. I know it's not – this is a big deal presidential-wise for the future of the school. Athletics is a big part of that. And we'll get into that coming up later on in our show this morning. Let's start on the hardwood, though. The Bison men had their home opener last night after a tough couple games on the West Coast, a game they felt like they should have won against Oregon State. They pretty much were at arm's length against UC Davis. They were home hosting CSUN. This is not, and I got yelled at about this before the game. It's not Cal State Northridge. It's not CS Northridge. They are CSUN. The Matadors, who came in after scoring 90 points against UND on Sunday. This was the last game of 3 on the road for them. They started at Cedar Falls. They lost to Northern Iowa. They beat UND. And last night, if you missed the first half, we're going to do you a solid, not show you anything for the first half because it was brutal shooting. Damari Wheeler-Thomas back playing for the Bison. First time in the shack for him in over 20 months. Bison were down 3 at halftime. Andy Stefanowicz was a playmaker last night. Here the dish to Trayson Anderson for the hammer. Put the Bison up by 5. Later in the second half, Noah Feddersen misses. Markai Strickland has been really good. He battled foul trouble last night. Scores on the putback, put the Bison up 7. Travion Carson makes a great play here. Gets the steal. The hammer. NDSU starting to pull away. They're up by 9 near the midway point of the second half. Stefanowicz was a playmaker last night. Cans a 3. Suddenly the Bison are up 12. Here's another one from Stefanowicz from deep. Suddenly the lead is up to 15 at one point. Damari Wheeler-Thomas hits another three. DWT was really good last night. That exploded the lead to 19. Carson Smith, again, the Bison in the first half were 2 of 20 from three-point range. Didn't look like that in the second half. There's Damari in the mid-range game, which he's so good at. Bison pull away in this one and win it 90-68, the final score. NDSU had 30 points in the first half. They score 60 in the second half. I'm not a great math mind, but that's normally pretty good as they get their first win of the season. 4 players getting to double figures last night, spurred on by DWT leading the way with 22. Stefanowicz, what a stat stuffer night for him. 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals as the Bison get 4 players into double figures. After the game, we visited with a couple of the players led by Wheeler-Thomas about playing at the Shack for the first time in over a year and a half.
Felt a little weird at first, but, I'm just glad to be back out there with my boys.
Mentally at halftime, the shots still from 3 aren't falling. What was it like to see yours go in, and did that open the floodgates for everybody?
I say we just got to stay aggressive and, know that we're in the gym working. And Dave said keep getting them up and be confident on our side. And if we're not confident, he's going to take us out. So we did what we had to do.
I mean, it's never my team. I feel it's all of us as a group. Me and Damari. Damari's been a great mentor for me since I got here. And it's kind of feeding off each other and staying together.
I'd like to have both of you on the floor. How different? What challenge does that provide for defenses?
Oh, it's great. I feel like we play well with each other, just spacing, kind of work to our strengths and open each other up.
I know you don't want to hear it, anybody, but I'm going to keep vomiting. It's the truth. It's just 3 games into it with this group. And it's Travion Carson's never played Division I basketball before. Tay Smith has never played Division I basketball before. Damari didn't play Division I basketball last year. Andy's never played this significant minutes. Noah Federson has never been in their role. So to get experience, you got to go through experiences. And last week sucked. It did. I'm not going to hide behind it. But it's just part of the process.
Seems like this is Andy's team to run from the point guard.
Yeah, it's just, we made some decisions after the week. It's just those two, from a culture standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, from a retention standpoint, to get them 2 on the floor together like that. Now, Tay Smith can really shoot it. And I know you're going to look at me and think I'm an idiot, but he can. I've seen it. Travion Carson's a good shooter, and those things will come along, and those guys will find their way a little bit. But I can't say enough about those 2 tonight, just the way, and Andy was his energy, the way he responded out of half was terrific.
How's he different from last year? Talking about Andy.
Well, I just think he's more comfortable. He's got a little bit more experience. I think, him and Jason have done some things. You saw him go in and be able to finish, a little bit, and so he's bigger. Andy's never going to be huge, but I think he's put on 8, 10, 12 pounds, and so that's a part of it. And just like anything, I think we're better today than we were, 6 months ago or a year ago, just based on experience.
Dave, this was Damari's first game back here in 20 months. What was it like to see him back on the floor?
Yeah, I can't tell you, he's a heck of a player, an elite competitor, but the relationship that we have and the conversations that we have and his lack of fear to speak up, to challenge me, to challenge the team and do some things like that. Dom Clay is going to redshirt, and I pulled Dom and Damari aside and said, hey, Damari, you need to help guide Dom through this process a little bit because you can get lost in that. There's just so many things, and for him to come back and for him to battle what he's battled here and now to have some of that success, it's encouraging.
So the Bison have win number 1, no rest for the weary. They play again tonight in a real scheduling quirk, although Richmond said last night as well in the postgame, this is in anticipation of what's to come for the Summit League tournament to get ready that they potentially may have to play 3 games in 3 days. So they've got St. Scholastica tonight, Division III opponent out of the MIAC that you'll see coming up tonight, 7 o'clock. And then 2 more games at home next week with Southern Illinois coming in on Monday and then University of Jamestown a week from tonight. So here's a stretch where they can start to figure things out. That was a complete flip of the switch in the second half. If you turned it off at halftime, I don't blame you because it was ugly shooting-wise. The Bison were shooting, I think, 7 of 35. Again, I'm not a great math mind. That ain't good. But the shots started to fall in the second half, and they're not going to win games like they did last year. I'm going to hammer this home for people that are expecting them to make 18 threes in a game like they did a year ago. That ain't going to happen this season. That's not the way they're going to do it. Now, they are going to rebound the ball. That's something that Dave was hammering last year that they just weren't a good rebounding team. That is not the case in 25-26. They can rebound the basketball and put it back. They had a bunch of offensive rebounds as well last night. So a solid win there, and we'll see now how they come back and play tonight against, again, it's a lower division school. NDSU should hammer them and see how they bounce back and then get ready for a really tough opponent. SIU coming in out of the Missouri Valley Conference. Hopefully we get a good crowd on Monday night for that. So there you have it for the Bison men. UND men scored, I believe, 128 last night in beating Mayville State and setting a program record. They won by 70 over Mayville to get their first win of the season. The UND women fell on the road last night to Green Bay. The Green Bay is a good team. Kayla Karius is the head coach there. The Phoenix, the former USD head coach, now leads them with 67-43. So UND still searching for its first win on the women's side. And we see the Bison will be back in action on Sunday when they take on Nebraska, that game at the Pentagon. Last thing before we set up the show, you saw the news yesterday, and we talked about it last week when we found out that David Cook was a finalist for the job at Iowa State, that it became official. He was selected as the new Iowa State president yesterday, and he'll start his tenure in Ames on March 1. And again, this is a slam dunk for him. He's an Ames native, graduate Iowa State. This all make a heck of a lot of sense for Iowa State to go down this road. Now, for NDSU, this is a critical hire going forward. And say what you will about everything, and Dave talked to me about this when he came in this summer on the sit-down about all the streamlining that they've done, how they've opened a bunch of new buildings. You can't go up there and drive around campus, let alone from the athletic part of it. The facility-wise, what they're opening is remarkable. The new engineering building, agricultural buildings going up on the north side. It's awfully impressive. I'll speak wholly about what I think I'm qualified to talk about is athletics, even though some think I talk out of my butt, which is probably not too far off. This is a big deal simply because of where North Dakota State is at in terms of financial, in terms of conference affiliation, and obviously of their hope of moving their football program to the FBS division. Cook was, I would say, he was certainly intertwined in that. He knew exactly where they were at. If we discern that the Mountain West was at least dangling a carrot in front of NDSU, Cook was certainly involved in those discussions and tried to make NDSU as forthright to that as they could, to let the Mountain West know, like, hey, we'd be interested if you want to extend a football-only invite. Come talk to us. That the next president is going to have some athletic knowledge on that to understand what's happening with Division I, with knowing full well of how NIL is going to work, how the portal is going to work, how NDSU has positioned itself to say when the phone rings, they got to be ready to say absolutely. The president, it makes the call on this. It's not the AD. It's not the head football coach. It's the presidents that make the call. And whoever is selected to lead NDSU has got to understand that if this comes later this summer, if it comes next year, if it comes at all, that when the phone rings, you can't say, well, can you give us a little bit? No. You got to be ready to say, absolutely, we're ready to go. And that may not be high priority for some people, but athletics is a big deal. Cook understood that. Dean Brashani understood that. Joe Chapman certainly understood that. I think the last three presidents have understood the role that athletics has played, and certainly what football has done to lift the profile of the school. I mean, when you get 4 million people watching a football game, as they did for their opener last year with Colorado, that's unlike anything else that happens with a school. You had 2 million people watching the national championship game against Montana State. That's the kind of exposure that comes. There was 2 million watching the semifinal here from the game that was played in December. So be really interested to see where the school goes next for its first hire. So Cook leaving, we'll see who the interim president is, and then who will be hired to take over as the next president at North Dakota State. We have a packed show coming up for you here today. Our guest lineup is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Our guy Drew Trafton coming up in just a few minutes. If you missed the end of the Grizz Eastern Washington game, we will show it to you because Montana barely won in the most outrageous play to end the game. in Missoula. We'll chat about that and the latest playoff rankings and where we sit with 2 weeks to go in the FCS regular season. At 9:35, Jacob Holmen will join us. Minot North head football coach. What a year it's been for the Sentinels. They have now reached the Dakota Bowl for the first time in just their second year of varsity ball. They'll have a chance for a state championship. Where does that sound familiar? Yeah, that was West Fargo Horace last year, the team that beat Minot North en route to the championship. He'll join us at 9:35. And at 10 o'clock, old friend Andy DeLaBarre will join us. His Lamar Litchfield Marion Lobos will play for the 9-man championship. What a day it is for Andy today. His daughter Nora is signing her letter of intent this morning to play to run track at North Dakota State. So we'll visit about that and obviously chat a little football. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Wednesday morning. We'll take our first break. We come back. Drew will join us to give us the lowdown on the Grizz, the Cats, and everything else going on in the state of Montana. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns on a Wednesday morning. We're back right after this.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
All right, our guy Drew is here. We got a studio audience here. I was just remarking that off the top here. This is a little different for us.
It is.
Right?
I think our performance level is going to go up.
There's only one way it can go.
Right,
is up here.
That's right.
Great to see you. We are down to the final 2 weeks of the regular season. My phone was blowing up on Saturday because obviously we're up in Grand Forks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see live the end of what happened in Missoula. I'm following the score. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a game that's happening there.
I had started, full disclosure, doing like household chores. Like
you would pull the plug. Through.
Yeah, like got to halftime. I'm like, okay, this is great. I can go about my day.
Yes.
I mean, it was over, done, dusted. And then I had to pull out my phone and like, what's going on? In the middle of hanging Christmas lights and stuff.
Oh, wow, you're ahead of the game there. I haven't done that yet.
Well, snow in the forecast.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got to get on top of that. All right, let's show what happened. For people that didn't, so the Grizz built a big lead in this game.
Huge lead.
Eli Gilman's doing his thing, and they're routing a team like they should.
It was almost like the Weber game, last week where they, first possession, they just jump out in front, never looking back. Foot on the pedal. It was awesome.
I mean, Gilman scoring touchdowns. Yeah. Here we go. They're on their way to 10-0, and no one's going to touch. All of a sudden, Eastern comes back. The end of this game defies description. Now, Eastern's trying to spike the ball because they have a 1st and goal, and the quarterback fumbled the ball.
Yes. After, so in that possession, they had recovered the onside kick.
After they had scored a touchdown, Eastern, yes.
And they did it in the Pat McAfee style where they just pooched it like 10 yards down the field and he just jumped on it. It was just unbelievable. Like it was an all-time folly. And since in the days after this game, Bobby Hauck in his media appearances has stopped the players from talking about this game.
Is that right?
The first question to the players on Monday was, going back to that Eastern game, he's like, whoa.
We're not talking about that anymore?
We're on to Portland State. And
the Belichick, we're on to
Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. And then, a reporter who's been in that market for probably 15 years now asked him yesterday or 2 days ago, why is it that the team's getting up, by 30 points, and then, we're just seeing this lead just whittle away.
Yep.
And, at his typical Hauck response of, like, are you asking why we're not just, piling on and, winning by more?
Right.
And then he was a little bit more reflective about it. And he said, I do need to do better as a coach, and I need to do better with these guys who are then stepping in after we take the starters out. And he said they're not playing to a championship level, and that's on me.
All right, Eric, if we can we cue up the end of the game? Because I've never seen before with a quarterback trying to spike it, couldn't hang on to the ball.
Yeah.
Like, every time in football you see something you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Like Cole Payton, like hurdling 4 guys, like he's done 4 separate times this season. Because I was described, like, I've never seen the quarterback not be able to handle the snap when trying to spike it.
Right.
Because that's what he was trying to do there.
Yeah, it was
unbelievable.
Yeah, and in the moment, it was one of those things because it's so rare that there's just mass confusion. Like nobody really knew. I felt that way watching it in real time, and I feel like the stadium reaction was a little bit more like, what's going on? And it feels like maybe it was one of those dead ball situations where, like he had spiked it,
Yeah.
and then they fell on it,
yeah.
and so people were like, "What's going on?" And it was bonkers.
Like if it was a fake spike, like the Marino
Yes.
fake spike,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
would have been better than what happened there.
Yeah.
Boy, so that
They
is
escaped.
a massive break
And,
there.
I feel like any dominant FCS team, or for the most part, they do have those games, like that, once a year.
Bison
you're
had
gonna
that with
see-
Youngstown
yeah, with
State.
Youngstown.
Yep.
Right. A couple weeks ago, where it's like, like they really didn't, they almost got caught there.
Yep.
They almost got caught. It's like, so what do you do with that now? How do you use that?
Well, you've got the perfect opponent this week to take it out on with Portland State coming up on the road for the Grizz.
You have
that's,
it get right.
That's a game. That's exactly right. You have a game here where you can. Hopefully your backups are in early in the game and then get ready for what's to come the final week.
Because they're not
of the
playing
season.
against MSU. That's for
So
darn sure.
How do you feel about the full-on media blitz, social media blitz that the U of M is doing to get game day to come to Missoula?
I feel like 2 years ago, they were more aggressive with breaking out the celebrity contingent.
Yes,
that was
that's
the
right.
Jimmy Kimmel,
J.K. Simmons
J.K.
was on there.
Simmons,
Yeah, that's
and J.K.
right.
Simmons is an alum, so that makes sense. And they really pushed hard on that whole concept. This year, it feels like they're really relying more on the grassroots to push it.
It seems like they're begging a little bit. Like
they absolutely are.
Like
the Big Sky Conference
like
is
the
getting
video
involved.
yesterday had like a care package for Peter.
Yeah.
Like Herb Street's dog.
Yes.
I saw that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That all right. I get it. But
and the game has been in Bozeman. Or game day's been in Bozeman before, which was fine.
You got to go there though. Missoula's a different spot.
It is, and they are different environments. They are different, just like different fan bases, truly.
Yeah.
I mean, and you get a completely different experience. I think Montana State, you get more of the agricultural side of Montana, which is incredible, in its due course. The West, but like the further west you push into Montana, the more you get into the scenery of it. It's a different kind of wild.
Yep, absolutely right.
And it's also like, that culture is more built on the industry of mining, and there's a difference to it that I think would be cool to see them explore. But it's the same conversation we always have with College Game Day going to an FCS location. It was like Brookings, a few weeks ago, and it's like they're always going to take the SEC game. They're always going to take the top 10 matchup.
When they're paying $3 billion,
Right.
that's kind of the
Right.
deal. Yeah.
It's just, but it would be really cool to see Missoula get that shine. The campus is built in a way that they could do it on campus.
Yeah.
And it would be, with Old Main Hall behind
Right.
it.
I was thinking the
just
same
this
thing.
Beautiful
Yeah.
space. It's called the Oval, and they could pack it with people, and they would, and it would be a really, really cool environment.
Eric, what are the other games? What have you found out here for that day, November the 22nd?
So the days that they could go to or the games that they could go to are Pitt, Georgia Tech, and then USC and Oregon, which would be 17 and 8 for USC, Oregon.
They're
doing
go
Pitt,
there.
but they're doing Pitt this week.
Sorry, not Pitt, Georgia Tech. BYU, Cincinnati, 12 and 25.
Yeah, I think
Pitt,
USC,
Georgia Tech was the other ranked versus ranked matchup.
USC Oregon is to my mind, it's like they're going to go do that one, but it would be really cool. If they chose Missoula.
That's interesting because that's a Big Ten game now. I have to wrap my mind around that. That's a Big Ten game, but they don't have the rights to that.
Sure.
That's a Fox game.
Sure, so they would be
I don't know if
promoting-
that, they have a better chance than the Bison and the Jacks do, I think, of getting game day. I thought, I never really thought that
they haven't been
was going to be on there.
They haven't been to Missoula, so it would be, and that feels very, very overdue. With just how that school has performed for them on ESPN and on that family of networks, it'd be great.
Right
if they
now,
could give them some shine.
The bracketologists, myself included, are inclined to put MSU at the 2 spot. But here's the thing. Montana State, and we talked about this early in the year, after the first 2 games, it was going to be boat race city. And it has been because the opponent, they did not have the tough Big Sky schedule because there's 83 teams in the league, except this Saturday.
Yep.
But I still don't think Davis is a 2-touchdown underdog in that game. Easy in my mind.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about this on your show. Like the spreads this year in the Big Sky
are just wild.
Are ridiculous. I think Montana's a 34.5-point favorite.
As
against
they should be.
Portland State.
Right. Well, the Bison are 34 right now with Northern Iowa.
And Montana State is like just as you said, they're boat racing, which is what they needed to do. But I get it. The thing is that whole 2 versus 3 conversation is strictly academic. at this point because we will find out.
That was my
like
next question.
That will
So
be played out.
The loser of the game, do you think, is a lock for the 3? I think if the Cats win, I think absolutely Montana will be the 3. I don't
Really?
know.
Okay.
I do. I think it's Montana's first loss to be 11-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're the 3.
I just wonder. So in my mind, I was thinking that the Cats would have the stronger case to maintain the seed just because of who their losses were.
Yeah, I get because the committee certainly gave SDSU a heck of a lot more credit than
Yes.
I did, having them at 6.
Yes.
That to me seemed
Yep.
odd.
Yeah.
Is what I'll go with.
I feel like if the Grizzlies lose, you have to look at their resume and go, okay, well, that
I don't know if I'm putting Tarleton or Lehigh ahead of them.
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't.
true.
I think the
That's
furthest
true.
they fall is 3. I think Montana State
That's
would
wild.
have, right?
That is so wild.
Yeah.
That you're really playing for
Correct.
the 2 and 3
Yes.
seeds. Like
because the
that's-
Bison, we thought that last week. If NDSU won the game in Grand Forks, right, that they know they're the one. Even if they
Yes.
lost the
Yeah.
game, though, the furthest they were going to drop was 2,
Right.
knowing what the rankings were
yes.
last week.
And
So-
yes. And really, you could still make a case for them to be 1. You know,
Yes.
you know, I mean, and
had they lost the game,
probably
yeah.
the strongest
Yep.
case that they should still be 1.
Last thing before we go, your Seahawks are rolling here. Biggie coming up with the Rams.
Yeah,
That'll be
they're
fun.
busting out. The Rams are busting out their.
I saw that.
rivalries
What is that?
uniforms. It's a midnight. Like it's the
That's
concept.
supposedly
is midnight.
blue?
I think it's black. It's those rivalries.
Are you guys wearing your
uniforms,
ones
no,
then?
not for
Oh,
that
not
game.
for that game.
Yeah, every NFC West opponent chose to wear theirs against Seattle, which was interesting.
Oh, that's right, because the Cardinals wore theirs on that Thursday night game.
Yeah, their desert look or their.
What's
I think
the 40? I didn't even see what the 49ers.
Theirs
one
is the
it.
same concept as
Oh.
the Rams, where it's like just all black.
Oh.
Which looks okay.
Oh, that's right.
You know,
Yeah,
with
that's
that
right.
with
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
crimson and
Yeah.
gold color, that's fine. But yeah, this is a huge game. I think it will probably go a long way in
Rams are looking
determining
good,
the-
man. Stafford
yeah.
looks like he's 25 again, even though I know
Yes.
he's banged up. Obviously, he had the back thing to start the year. He's been dealing.
I mean, I think the storyline to watch with this game is this Seahawks defense versus the Rams offense. That'll be great. Unfortunately for NDSU fans, Jalen Sundell was injured. On Sunday, and they had been playing so well as a cohesive unit. And so I'm really curious what that does to Seattle's offensive line because they struggled when he came out of the game on Sunday in the second half. They struggled immensely.
Do we know long term what that is? Or
I haven't heard.
Okay.
I have not heard. So I'm very nervous about that because his reaction to the injury was not good.
Yeah. For our in-studio audience, I'm a uniform nerd, helmet nerd. So anytime we have anything, so there it is. That
It
looks
looks
blue
okay.
to me, though.
Yeah, you know, and the one thing I liked
The
about it
helmet's
was
all right.
the helmet logo is their old, you know, like the
See, yeah,
horn,
let's
opposed
go.
to like the chopped up
Yep.
thing that they did with their
lame.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks fine. It's just I know we've had this discussion before too with the NFL rivalries jerseys. You had such an opportunity to. Just
Yeah,
do something
different. Yes.
And they just didn't do
No.
it. It's just everything's so muted, and it's like why would you do that?
You know what you could have done? Hey, we're going to wear the jerseys we wore in the 70s and 80s because they look fantastic.
They're so
like
cool.
when the Seahawks wore their
Yeah.
on Sunday Night Football. Like that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And why? Like Denver on Thursday night. That game was horrendous against the Raiders. The best part about it, the Broncos
Yeah.
are wearing the jerseys they never should have changed out
Right.
of. They
I
were
mean,
fantastic.
that's almost uniformally everybody's
Yes.
response to that is like they
Yes.
should just wear these all the time.
Yes.
And in a league where like the top objective is clearly to make money. It's never
yeah.
made sense to me that the NFL puts limits on the helmets and the jerseys that they can
No.
wear. And it's like if your hurdle is Nike's production capabilities, like get a better deal. Or make it
Correct.
like college football where it's like find your own suppliers, you know?
Well, like when we saw, like Philly wore the Kelly Green ones, or obviously the Buccaneers where they're Pat the Patriot. I mean, it's just
the creamsicles are like just,
best.
yeah, the NFL has
Yeah.
so many good like past jerseys, and they have like the horrendous ones, like the Steelers, you know, or the
what
you know,
were the
Acme
Packers? Yeah, I'm
Packers.
sorry, I'm going to give Eric a
You
hard
know,
time.
like-
What were the Packers wearing a couple weeks ago? That was terrible.
Yeah. It's
that
like
was awful.
But it's like you do have this like famed history where you could just like, I mean, you could print money.
Yes.
Like, and which they
people
already
buy, right,
do.
and people
but,
buy them. Like,
yeah.
like if I saw, like, literally before the Sauce Gardner trade, like that was my next jersey. I had not bought a Jets jersey in a long time. Like Sauce Gardner's my guy. Jets drafted him. He's going to be a lifer, and then
do you have that curse? I have the curse where if I buy a jersey, that player is inevitably traded. Or
no, I have it where he inevitably sucks. Like I have Mark Sanchez, and after they went to the back-to-back AFC Championship games, the next year was the butt fumble, and then
I don't know which is worse, honestly.
I think it sucks. Is not traded on that. We got to roll. Thanks for coming by as always, man. And we can't wait next week to chat about Grizz Cats.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have College Game Day to talk about.
Your guy Mike Zier is going to be in town on Friday because he's doing the Dakota Bowl. So I know he'll
pumped
be
for
next
his matchups already.
He's pumped ever, but he'll be next level for Grizz Cats.
Yes,
I can't wait for that. We'll see you next week. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll head out west. Minot North set to make its debut in the Dakota Bowl. Head coach Jacob Holmen is going to join us. We come back on Hot Mic on a Wednesday morning. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, Dakota Bowl 33, ready to rock on Friday. Our coverage begins at 9 a.m. on WDAY with a 9-man championship. We'll chat about that game in our next half hour. The Class A title game finals then the Double A, and we wrap it up in prime time with Century and Davies in the 3A championship at 6:30. That late afternoon game has produced some dynamite ones over the past few years. We may have another one on tap for us coming up on Friday between Devil's Lake and Minot North. The Firebirds, who had the unexpected, unbelievable win over Kindred on Friday against the Sentinels, who have been the top team in the division all year long and edged out a Game Central cast team on Friday night. Head coach Jacob Holmen joins us here on this Wednesday morning, couple days out. You know, I was talking earlier in the show. I remember you and I chatting the first day of varsity practice. First day I actually had practice a few years ago when you guys were just starting football. Have you allowed your mind to go there of just a few years ago we were starting out with nothing, and now we're playing for the title on Friday?
Yeah, for sure. We've talked about that a lot with our kids, just the growth that we've seen, not only as football players, but as people too. They've matured a ton, and that's what we set out to do in our program, is try to build good people. And when you build good people, good things can happen on the field. So we're really proud of the group that we have, and we've come a long way.
Is this even ahead of your own timeline?
I would say no. I think knowing the group of kids that we had, that first year was tough. After year two, we thought, man, these guys could do something, because they just put in a ton of work on their own time and invested in trying to become better football players. And did we expect to be this good? No, but I think we knew we could compete, and it's turned out pretty well for us.
The game last year, Jacob, the semifinal game with Horace, how much did that burn this team going forward, losing on your home field to say we were that close to getting where we wanted to go?
Yeah, that's definitely a motivating factor going into your off season and whatnot. But last year, the moment was almost a little bit too big for us. We were still learning. We hadn't been in a situation like that. So I think we used that and learned a lot from that game over the course of the year. And then even on Friday night, I think we went back and tapped back into some of the stuff that we learned. Where it wasn't pretty last week, we did some stuff that was really poor, but our kids battled and did enough to win, and they fought really hard, and we're proud of their effort.
Well, we were talking off air, and I was up at Bison basketball, so I only saw the highlights of the game, and it was night and day weather. It was fine here, and you guys were playing in almost a blizzard in the second half of that game.
Yeah, second half was a snowstorm, so I honestly didn't notice it was cold or snowy or anything when you're coaching, but people in the stands after the game said they're freezing and all that. So that's a game, any weather game like that, that's one that you remember, regardless of the outcome. It's fun to play in some snow where you're slipping and sliding around and just being physical with it. So, yeah, unique situation.
How did you feel like the guys handled it?
Pretty well. I don't think it changed anything. Our quarterback played lights out.
Yeah.
The best game he's played in his time with us. So the weather didn't affect him, and I don't think it affected many other guys. I think they enjoyed it a lot.
Describe, after cinching that game late, the excitement post-game, talking with the guys, locker room, knowing, all right, here we go. We've made it to the Dakota Bowl.
Yeah, that's something that you can't describe super well, but it's just pure and raw joy. Where honestly, I didn't know if we were going to win. At times I probably didn't think we were going to win. We weren't playing well enough to do it, and momentum flipped. But the picture I have in my head is I gave Coach Rudolph a big hug. He's our defense coordinator. He's been with me from the start. And then I ran over and found my dad right away. And that was a special moment. So he did so much for us all year, and down the stretch, he's a guy that I look to a ton on that last drive of, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Because he's been in those situations where as a young guy, I haven't been in a stressful situation like that before. So yeah, really special to do it with those guys and this group of kids that we got to start it with.
What was that moment like to share with your dad?
Very, very cool. Maybe a couple tears streaming down the face after that hug. But yeah, we just invest so much time together. We talk about football all the time, probably drive the rest of our family crazy with it. But yeah, he's been through a lot as a coach, and I think that this would rank up with one of his favorite wins. I would assume.
I would have to imagine that, knowing your dad.
Really special for me as well.
That's fantastic. All right, so it's Devil's Lake that you're going to face. You played him a month ago. Is that something? Are you watching that, or is this a different team that you're going to see on Friday?
I think you definitely watch that because that was a close, competitive football game. So you learned some stuff from it. There were a lot of things that we need to fix from that week, but yeah, they've gotten hot here of late, and they're playing really well. I think their quarterback's the best kid in the state at any level. I think he just makes
really
plays and runs around, and he's a challenge to handle. And Coach Rudolph had a pretty good plan last time, but he still found ways to make plays, and hopefully we can make some adjustments there. But they're a big physical team too. One of the more physical teams we played, so it'll be a slugfest.
I want to tap into something. How that game ended. You spent your career as a specialist. Obviously, played college ball as a specialist. To see how the game ended with a missed extra point. We only talk about the specialists when something like that happens. How difficult is it? We don't know that. We talk quarterback, running back, DN, wide receiver. But the game rests on a specialist. How mentally difficult is that?
Yeah, being a specialist is challenging because it's not like any other position in football. When I was playing in high school as a tight end, you could just go play hard, and you still relied on technique and whatnot, but it was really just effort driven. And when you're a specialist, it's all technique. You have to trust your technique and your training, and sometimes things don't go the way you want them to, and you're in the spotlight for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But really challenging thing for that kid, and my heart goes out to him. That's a hard thing to deal with, and that's not the reason that you lose a game.
No,
there's so many other what ifs, but yeah, it's tough. That's not an easy life.
It's all right. So you've got obviously worrying about the football game. Tell me about all the other stuff that comes with it. Tickets, getting the team there. How are you handling that this week?
Yeah, it's been a lot. And then throw in an all-state meeting in Jamestown on Monday. We were on the road. So there's been a lot of stuff going on this week, but we have a lot of people in our school and in our booster program that are helping a ton. Amber Mendez is one of our parents who's done a ton of stuff for us. Our ADs are working their tails off. So they're trying to take as much off my plate as possible so that I can focus on coaching football. But then there's all the media stuff that you have to get ready for the program and all that. And there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm finding time to still try to enjoy this because we got 3 days left with the kids that got to start this thing. So that's the most important thing, is making sure that they can have a good finish to their careers.
I guess for people that don't know, Jacob, tell us about, because you and I did this 4 years ago when you're getting ready for your first practice to get out there and play, but how this all came about and now to see it on the back end. Like, okay, this was a grassroots thing. We started the program. I got hired, and now, we've built this thing up where we have a chance to win a championship on Friday.
Yeah, super special. It's been a long process, and it's been long, but it's felt short at times. Like, I can't believe that we're in year 4 already, but just being able to take these kids to a Dakota Bowl and get them to experience it is a really cool thing after all the work that they've put in. Hours of unseen work. We talked about that before the last game, of just how much time we've spent together that people have no idea the amount of investment and effort that it's taken to get to a point like this. So yeah, we're just trying to enjoy the next 3 days, and hopefully afterwards we can just sit back and really reflect and be grateful about it. But when you're in the heat of the moment, sometimes you forget to do that.
All right, give me a couple guys that have really stood out to you this year for your team that have gotten you to where you're at here today.
Yeah, that list could be long. I'll start with our quarterback. We didn't throw the ball much during the year, and we did at times, but we threw it 22 times on Friday. I think Blick went 16 for 22 for 210 yards. So that's the most we've thrown as a program. Threw 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Did a really nice job. And he talked to me after the game. He said that's some of the most fun I've ever had because I got to air it out. But yeah, he stepped up in a big way where last year it was a challenge throwing the ball late, that we knew we had to be better. If we wanted to win playoff games, we needed to throw the ball. And then Christian Dedman's come on really well. We were careful with him early in the year. He made that play on 4th down that they went for it on 4th and 1. He stopped it basically on his own. and gave us a chance to win the game. And then he's kind of our workhorse right now. We got other guys in the backfield that can carry the rock, but he's a tough football player and doing some really good stuff. So really pleased that he's healthy, just happy for the kid. But yeah, I could keep talking about kids all day long, but really special group of dudes that are a really good team. They care about each other a lot and love one another. So it's been fun.
What's the travel plan for Friday?
Yeah, we'll get up Friday morning at 6:30. We got a military convoy taking us out of town.
That's
so kind of
awesome.
a cool thing.
That's
Some
cool.
parents set up. And then we'll come down to Fargo, eat at Applebee's right across the street, and then get ready to go play a game. I'm kind of glad that we don't play the late one, to be honest with you, because it's a long day of sitting and waiting. So we practice at 3:30 normally. We'll play around that time.
Yep.
So our body should be used to doing it. So yeah, looking forward to the day, ready to just get there.
What do you think's going to go through your mind right before kickoff?
I'm going to try to treat it like any other game. It's a special deal where how many Dakota Bowls do you get to play? And you don't know. This could be the only one that I ever get to coach in. So I think you just have to appreciate it, but you also have to make sure that you're in the right mental frame to go call a game and make sure kids are calm. And it's a big stage, but we've played on big stages before, and it's just a football game at the end of the day.
I have to ask, knowing just your dad's history in this game, how badly you want this one. Not just for you, but also for him.
Yeah, I mean, as a player playing for him, my biggest goal was to win a state championship with my dad.
Yeah.
So to have a chance to do that on a coaching side, not the same, but it's just as cool. To be able to just see the work and the time that goes into it, where we were talking as coaches, we wish that we could play because it's way less stressful. But yeah, I think we'll try to just enjoy it as much as we can. And whatever the outcome is, it's been a heck of a year and a heck of a 4-year stretch for us, where we're going to fight like heck to go win a football game. But we're grateful for the opportunity.
All right, let me ask you the typical reporter question of a head coach. Do you need a quick start? Is that something you're looking forward to win this game on Friday?
I think putting 4 quarters together is the most important thing. So starting quick, yeah, that would be great. But we got to sustain. One of our main things that we try to do from an offensive standpoint is wear teams down. So if you can jump on them early, that helps. But over the course of the game, can we sustain and rely on our strength and conditioning program that we hang our hat on? And we'll see where it goes from there.
This was great, bud. Safe travels on Friday. It's been awesome to see this from the ground up. We first did this about 4 years ago, and can't wait to see your team play on Friday. Thanks for the time. Safe travels, and I'll see you on Friday, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Dom.
Jacob Holmen joining us. Minot North head football coach. The Sentinels have Devils Lake. That comes up about 2:45, 3 o'clock-ish on Friday in the 2A championship. To wrap up the afternoon session, we'll take a little bit of a break, and then back at 6:30 for the 3A game between Davies and Century. And, we talked plenty about seeing Horace come from their first practice. And we follow, if you watched our show, we've been on Minot North since the first day they had their first practice. Heck, if people remember, Jacob gave us a whole tour of the new Minot North facility in the stadium when he was on with us a couple years ago. And I'll get it. I'm right there with you that this is maybe their last stop. Maybe they're in 2A that they're bound for. And I think he's even admitted that. They want to play Minot. They want to be a 3A school, that this is the progression of that. And what an opportunity they have coming up on Friday. And his dad, who's a longtime head coach at Minot, and they battled so often. We covered their game when they lost to Davies in 14. They lost to Century in that unbelievable game in 2015. They lost to West Fargo and Jay Gibson in 2017. They came so close to getting over the hump and couldn't do it. We'll see. That would be a special moment for the Holmen family if they're able to win on Friday afternoon. Appreciate his time. All right, we'll break. We'll come back. Got a couple emails to get to, wrap up our first hour. Andy DeLaBarre coming up in our second hour to get us ready for the 9-man championship with LLM and New Rockford. Back on Hot Mic right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Thanks to Jacob Holmen for giving us a few minutes. I mentioned earlier, it is National Signing Day. That's for all sports except football that are going to make their commitments now official. North Dakota State men, as I talked about earlier on the show, will officially announce 5 signees today. They have announced 2 so far. Max Iverson from Delano, Minnesota. We had Max on the show. Gosh, it was late or early spring, I think, when he committed. They also got and this will get people's attention, out of St. Charles, Illinois, Colin Stack. Colin Stack is a 7-footer. Now, the last time I can remember the Bison getting anybody that size was probably Jordan Meininger out of Dickinson, North Dakota, back in 2018, and he was a large human. St. Charles is the same hometown as Kelton McCaslin and Nathan Hayes of the Bison football team. So he's the second that's officially signed. They're expected to announce Chance Schoenfeld from Brookings, South Dakota, Amir Danforth, who's also from Illinois, and Oliver Junker out of Colorado. I can't remember the Bison going into the state of Colorado for basketball. Those are the other official signees that will come today for North Dakota State. For the women, they announced one signee. Georgia L. will be joining the Bison. She's out of Australia, 6'3". She becomes the second Australian on the team, joining Amelia Hobson. Jory Collins has gone down this road before, obviously with a few international players to varying degrees of success, or some that have not worked out. And that is going to be the only addition so far for the Bison women. If they're going to do anything, from what I've told, is going to be in April with a late signing, and then they'll see obviously where the roster sits, with the portal opens after the season, and we go through the hullabaloo of that. But that's it. We know the Dragons are going to add some as well on a busy day for Jason Kemp. And you'll see all of that additions coming up on WDAY Sports at 10 o'clock, or 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock tonight on a busy day. Lots going on, and you throw in National Signing Day onto the pile as well. We'll break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. Andy DeLaBarre will join us from Lemoore. The Lobos back in the 9-man championship game. Can they get over the hump and knock off the champs? That's coming up when Hour 2 begins on this Wednesday morning, right after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll here on this Hump Day Wednesday. Bison Media Zone coming up in about a half hour. Mike McFeely will join me in studio, get us ready for NDSU Northern Iowa. We'll chat a little bit on signing day as well, and some Bison hoops from last night. That's coming up in about a half hour's worth of time. Tomorrow, we are loaded on the show. I believe we're going to get Kevin Feeney tomorrow. The Spuds are leaving for Minneapolis tomorrow. They're going to get a front row seat to watch that Minnetonka Edina game. Since we're on location Friday, we'll visit with Kev tomorrow to get you ready for the Spuds and Lakeville South. That comes up Friday night in the 6A semifinals. The winner of that plays for the state championship a week from Friday. Going to be just a dynamite next few days of football. Including that is the North Dakota 9-man championship game, and it is a rematch, or not a repeat, of what happened last year. It is New Rockford Cheyenne Maddock against Lemoore Litchfield Marion. Lobos head coach, one of our favorites to join us, Andy DeLaBarre, here on the show this morning. You were just visiting off air. We'll get to the football game. This is a pretty cool day for your family. Your daughter signed her official letter of intent to go to North Dakota State and compete in track and field for the Bison today. Congratulations on that, bud.
Oh, thank you. It's just happy for her. She's a proud parent moment, and got to pull out the Bison gear today, so it was a good day. And just I remember, that feeling, and for her just to know where her future lies, at least the next 4 years or 5 years or however long. But yeah, it's an exciting morning for the family.
Did you have a whole signing party way back when?
No, I think I went into the Bishop Ryan Library and put on my Bishop Ryan Letterman's jacket and signed a paper and took a picture.
I was going to say, did you have to send a fax in? I'm assuming to send the fax into Fargo?
Oh yeah, it was a fax, and I remember still even as a GA at NDSU, they still waited by the fax machine. They pulled it out in the conference room, and as they would roll in, they would sort of celebrate. And yeah, it was kind of a fun deal.
Little different now. If I understand correctly, all she had to do was take a picture and then send it basically to NDSU, correct?
Yeah, I think my wife scanned it so it would look a little more official, and he wanted it to look nice when she sent it to the coaches.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. I hear you got a football game this weekend. This seemed like this was going to be the matchup before the year even started. In your mind, did you think, well, we are the two best teams again, that this is, if we do what we're supposed to do, we got a chance to play New Rockford again?
Yeah, I think we did. we knew what they were bringing back. We knew what we were bringing back, obviously. And, it's still the grind of the regular season. And, going through Region 1, it's, we had a very tough region. When you look at the semifinals with Hankinson and South Border in there too, it was a testament to the talent that we have down in our region. So, but yeah, it was just, our focus all year was on us. We can't look ahead. We can't look at, who we're playing Friday night. It had to be on us throughout this entire year. And, there's these little gaps between second place and first place. And, that's what we concentrated on throughout the season, was filling those gaps. And we knew it had to be a lot of little things to build up to getting over that hump. And, we're fortunate to be in this opportunity to get that second chance.
How much did last year fuel this team in your mind?
Everything. When we left that Fargo Dome, it sat in our pit in our gut for 12 months. And, for us to be back in this position, usually you celebrate pretty extensively after a semifinal win, knowing you're going to the Fargo Dome. And, we were pumped up, we were excited, but it was, I looked at the eyes of our boys and it was kind of like, what's next, coach? And I just like that, because we knew we had bigger things in vision for this season.
Now, with this matchup here, and we were talking a little bit off air, is this the same team from a year ago? How different, in your opinion, is New Rockford what you're going to see from a year ago this time?
Well, they're highly, prolific offense. They're a team that you look at last week, they scored 72 points, and they can score fast. And so I think, our keys, like everything, is if we can control the time of possession in a good way, not meaning they're scoring fast and we're not. We have to really look at what they're talented in, and they're really good throwing the ball, but they tend to trick you too. They throw the ball a bunch, but they're a pretty good run team too. So I think they're different, but very high powered offense, so still like they were last year.
I'm trying to do this. You'll know the stat better than I, but between your playing and coaching, is this like your 7th or 8th different Dakota Bowl that you've been in, whether it's a player or coach?
This would be my third as a Lobo.
Yep.
I was once as a Cardinal and once as a Lion.
Okay.
So five.
Okay. That's
five
pretty
in the
good,
Dakota
man.
Bowl.
there's only been 33 of them, so that's almost about a sixth of the time you've been there. When you think about that, tell me what goes through your mind.
Well, just the experience our boys get to have. I mean, that's why I think I coach, is to help give those guys an experience, teach them life lessons, and for them to have success and to be on the big stage of a state championship, and just really a cool spot for them to be in. My son's a freshman; he's getting to be a part of that too. So you see that as a dad, and all these boys are family. You spend all this time together, and our players truly feel like they're a brotherhood, and it's just the love of playing football and being together, and just now playing on the big stage like the Dakota Bowl.
I want to talk about Gunner in a second, but give me your lowdown on Preston Arndt, what kind of player he is. I know that there's Division I circling around him. What has he meant to your team this season?
Well, he's the change he made from last year to this year, and what he's done to his body physically, and I think his football IQ has improved, immensely. And so, he's a guy on the line, both offense and defensive line, that causes a lot of problems for teams. And so, when you have a kid like that, he goes under shadow a little bit with Gunner and some of the other athletes. But without him, we're not in this position we are, because of what difference maker he is up front.
We got to see last year, I think the state did with Gunner Thielges and what he did. I know it was a losing effort in the Dakota Bowl. Then he commits to NDSU. Obviously, all the eyeballs are going to be on him. How has he performed, knowing full well the defenses were certainly going to try and stop him, and more people were watching him this year?
Well, Gunner's probably the most level-headed kid I've coached, and I don't know if he gets flustered. He's really sharp on just playing the next play, and whether that's 9 guys focused on him or 1 or 2, he'll just play that play. And I hope he gets real comfortable in the Fargo Dome, because it's going to be his home for the next 4 or 5 years. So, it's a good spot for him to remember where he was, and just we don't have to be anything different. That's the thing about our whole team is, Gunnar doesn't have to be any more special than he already is, and nor does Preston Arndt or Mason Morgan or any of our players. They got to be them, be who they've been all season long, and go play football.
Andy, I see you. I mean, you guys have dominated this year. You really haven't been in a close game. If that happens, how do you think your team will react on Friday?
Well, I think we've had moments this season. It hasn't been a 4-quarter, grinded out type of football game we've ever played, but we've been in moments where we've had to deal with adversity, and so taking those little snippets are hopefully what we can bring into a tight game if that's where this ends up being, and I assume it will. It's the best two teams in the state playing, and so our kids are pretty focused. They're very intentional with what we do every day, and I think that helps too. So if we do get into a 4-quarter situation, nothing again changes for us. We just go out and play the next play.
Was just visiting with Jacob Holmen about sharing this with his dad. You just mentioned your son on the team. Describe that, and what if you've just taken a moment to say this is pretty unique of what you guys have had together this year.
Yeah, it's fun. When we won it in 21, he was our ball boy, and now he's kind of looking me right in the eye instead of looking up at me. So no, I'm proud dad. I'm very happy. He's contributing to our team too. A lot of time freshmen don't play, and he's plays a big role for us on offense. And so yeah, it's a special time for our family, and we should certainly enjoy it.
When's the I'm always interested in this, where the line is when coach stops and dad starts. How have you guys worked that out in your family?
It's a challenge, and that's it's probably harder for my girls because I got to remind myself I'm dad first all the time. So my girls would probably say I'm harder on them than Owen does. So, but yeah, there is a line, and I always tell them, I said, if I'm dad first, but if there's a moment where you need me to be dad, just say, Dad, I need you to be dad here, and I will. So yeah.
Now, here's the crazy part of you being in this game or being in the Dakota Bowl so often. You've played it all times, but last year you had the noon game. You got the 9 a.m. What are the challenges that present itself with that kickoff on Friday?
Just the earlier start, but I think for us it's better. I think most coaches would prefer that first game over the noon. You don't stand around, you don't get tight watching the game before. And so for us, we can kind of keep our routine down. We get up early, have breakfast, get to the Fargo Dome, walk the hallways, just kind of get the blood flow. And I'm excited. I love that first game. So we're good to go.
Do your players know that you played in that building? Do they have any idea of that? You have to break out the old tapes to show, hey, I played?
I haven't done that. Maybe I've talked about it a few times. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too old and I shouldn't talk about the good old days. But yeah, I think I showed my one touchdown clip once to my kids, and the old post over the middle.
Yeah. Were they impressed?
I don't know. I think eyes rolled a little bit. So.
I'm interested seeing the level of 9-man, how it's increased, how just the play has gotten better. You've seen it up close. Is it just better talent? What's the reason why 9-man ball has gotten so good over the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, there's definitely talent in these rural North Dakota towns, and you're seeing it from kids like Gunnar to Preston Art to the Simon and the Benz kid from New Rockford, Walker Broughton last year going to the NDSU. So yeah, there is talent out there, and you don't just see it in football. I think you see it across the board because there's so many multi-sport athletes in Class B, and I think that translates into the sport that they really want to be good at. And so if it's football, most of those guys are basketball, wrestlers, track, baseball, and that's the thing with our kids. They're not just 1 or 2 sport athlete; they're 3 or 4 sport athletes.
All right, I'm always curious on this, especially for the smaller schools. What's the send-off plan? What do you got planned for tomorrow?
Yeah, we got pep rally at 12:30. A shout out to, I know Eric Muslin from the credit union is going to have fireworks for us. He always does.
That's awesome.
So we'll hit the road, and coaches will probably play some pinochle on the road, and get to Fargo, get a little practice in, get some food, go to the all-state meeting, go to bed, play football.
Is that what you do on the bus as well, or do you need to be in the zone?
I play pinochle. If I can just keep my mind off of football for a little bit, it's a good thing.
I got to ask here now, getting ready for the game. You've done this before. What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to go through your mind right before kickoff on Friday?
I think just feel like we're prepared, and we've got another day today and tomorrow to kind of wrap things up. It's not real physically challenging right now. It's more of a mental challenge for our boys, and so just once we get lined up after the national anthem and we tee up the ball, it's now it's football player versus football player, and that's where it's going to come down to our kids just relying on what we've done all year, and just focusing on Lobo football, and just that's all it is going to take.
I know you were a little busy on Saturday. Did you catch what happened in Grand Forks at all?
I caught it. I caught the end, so we didn't get the full recap, but I proudly wore my Bison gear this week.
What is it about that? You played up there. What is it about that makes it such a tough place for NDSU or anybody, frankly, to play up there?
Well, it's a big venue game for UND. That I know they have some other rivalries, but this is the ultimate one, and I think NDSU's been the poster child for college football, especially at the FCS level. And I think if UND wins that game, that's a big boost to their program. And so it's not an easy place to play by any means. I think NDSU's always had a challenge going in there, but it was good to see them overcome that environment and the adversity they went through and just pull out a win.
I got an email to ask before we go. Is Preston aren't anywhere as big as his dad? And his dad was a giant for NDSU.
Preston wishes he was as big as his dad, but he's certainly growing. I mean, the size. I think he's as strong as his dad, though. That's one thing. When I remember when Michael was he was just kind of a freshman in college or even a senior in high school, and we would be at the lake and kind of mess around on a floating dock, and I think he hip tossed me about 3 times, and he was just still a little immature kid. So Preston's definitely got his dad's strength, and but he's definitely faster than his dad. I'll say that.
It's great to see you, bud. Safe travels tomorrow. See you on Friday. Thanks for doing this morning.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dom. Thank you.
Andy DeLaBarre joining us. Lamar Litchfield Marion head football coach, the Lobos and the Rockets. 2 of my favorite nicknames, 2 of my favorite coaches that are going to go at it here in a rematch of last year's Dakota Bowl. New Rockford Cheyenne got them last year in a game, and if you remember watching it, there was big plays after big plays, and I don't know if New Rockford's got that high power here in 2025. They're still awfully darn good, but I'm just looking through this real quick before we go to break. For Lamar this year, their games, they won by 30. They won by 58, by 43, by 30, by 57, by 52, by 60, by 40, by 52, by 50. Their closest game was their semifinal game, and they won by 36. That's outright domination of what they've done this season. So looking forward to that. It should be a heck of a way to kick off our Dakota Bowl coverage coming up on Friday morning. We'll break. We come back. We'll take our final break of Hot Mic because we got Bison Media Zone coming up. We'll get you ready for a busy sports Wednesday and wrap things up. Back on a Wednesday morning spectacular right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on the show this morning. Bison Media Zone coming up in a bit. In fact, right around the corner. Get you ready for North Dakota State, Northern Iowa. Might talk some hoops as well. And the other Valley games going on this weekend because there's a couple that have massive playoff implications. We'll do that coming up in just a few minutes. Let's get a couple emails banged out here before we wrap up the show. Dom, after watching last night's game, this is about Bison men's basketball, I can honestly say this is definitely not a great three-point shooting team. Their game is to get the ball into the paint and toss an occasional three. This isn't like last year's team where they could toss 30 to 45 threes, but they could make 15 to 20 to them a game. I think seeing last night, actually the ball going through the hoop probably does a world of good for them, considering they were 9 of 48 to start the season in the first 2 games. To me, it seemed, and I know McFeely and I were chatting about this, that CSUN looked disinterested in the second half, and they're in the back end of an 8-day road trip. I get it, but they seemed fully control that game, and in the second half, the Bison flipped the switch. You got to give it to them. They played more aggressive. I think having Stefanowicz and Wheeler Thomas on the floor at the same time is a decided advantage. In a league where there is constant turnover, specifically at the point guard spot, to have two guys that have played that position for North Dakota State gives the Bison an advantage there. We'll see. I mean, I don't know how good the league is yet. That was something Greg Steeman and I were talking about last night, and I'm sure we'll talk about again tonight. It's such constant changeover here that by the time we get to Christmas, we might have a better evaluation of who's good and who's not. Because right now it's still a total up in the air on that. St. Thomas is out to a good start. The Jacks are playing tonight. That's coming up here in What to Watch in a minute. They're playing a high major in Oregon, so I'm not sure what you're going to get out of that. Omaha is what they are, but obviously they lost quite a bit from last year. You've got South Dakota. Oral Roberts is rebuilding. North Dakota lost a ton. Denver is a great experiment of what they're going on with Bergstrasser's team. Kansas City always has athletes. It's just determining of who can put it together and, frankly, position yourself to be in a spot to make a run in Sioux Falls. That's basically all what it sets up for when we get to the end of the road here. Let's do one more. Dom, what about for the Bison women signing anybody beyond who they did? This is what they've got. If you're talking for all the great class is next year. That's the 2027s. That's what NDSU is trying to get their hooks into. They obviously have Riley Rutledge, who's already committed out of South Prairie. She did that on our show, actually, last spring. But for the other, Jordan Christopherson out of Horace, that's one that they're keeping their eyes on. Lincoln Donnelly is 28. That's their main focus now is what they're looking at for that. But that's it for, I don't think, honestly, the crop of 20. Riley Sievert out of Shanley is another one that is getting some high major looks now too. That's where their focus is now. The 26 crop, and that's no slight to them, is not to the level of what we had last year or certainly coming up. All right, before we do What to Watch, we were talking earlier on the Rams uniforms. The Patriots are debuting their is this their rivalry look for the Jet game on tomorrow night? I hate to say this because it might get me thrown out of the Jet fandom, which is fine. I've already thrown the flag on the floor earlier this year. This is a sharp helmet. That looks cool. You pair that with Pat the Patriot, what they already did this season. Dare I say New England might have the best uni combo in the league going right now. I need to see it, what it looks like when they play Thursday night, tomorrow night. And of course, we'll have a full breakdown on the show Friday because it's Pat's Jets. Who wouldn't want to see that? That's sharp. That looks pretty darn cool. That's coming up tomorrow night to start off Week 11 already of the NFL. All right, before we get out of here, let's do some What to Watch. What to Watch is brought to us by our great friends at Northwestern Mutual. Okay, we got North Dakota State men's hoops. We already talked about it earlier with St. Scholastica, 7 o'clock tonight. That game here on Extra is the back end of the back-to-back games for NDSU before they get a couple days off and SIU comes into town. The Jackrabbit men are at Oregon tonight. That game is exclusive on Peacock because when they signed this television deal, they had no networks to put it on. So that game is exclusive on Peacock tonight for the Jackrabbits and Oregon. We got another night of Maction. We got 3 Maction games tonight. Toledo and Miami of Ohio is probably the best of the 3 of them. That's on ESPN2 at 6 o'clock tonight. And the Gophers are in action tonight. They've actually are playing somebody good, playing Missouri out of the SEC. That's on SEC Network Plus, ESPN Plus as well at 7 o'clock tonight. Our thanks to Drew Trafton, to Andy DeLaBarre, and Jacob Holmen. If you missed any of the show and our Concordia students that were in here, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY Plus. The Bison Media Zone is minutes away. We'll see everybody back here tomorrow.